Today we're going to get a look at the best heroes in Season 1 of Civilization, Eras, and Allies, and you can trust my guidance, in part because if we get a look at the rankings here, we're toward the end of the season, but I'm currently number 3 for growth, which is pretty decent, okay? I've spent a lot of time thinking about this game, and a big thank you to the makers of Civilization, Eras, and Allies for sponsoring this video. With all that said, of course, before we even get into my list, I do need to mention that the Peerless heroes are like a cut above everything else. So we're not going to include the Peerless heroes in my top 5 list. This is like the top 5 not Peerless heroes because the Peerless heroes are OP. If you get one of the Peerless heroes, you build around the Peerless heroes. But the 5 I've got for you today, man, they can cook. So we're going to go and we'll take a look starting with number 5 on the list. And that is going to be, as I scroll down to find him, none other than Lepidus. There he is. I was like, where you at, bro? Here he is. So Lepidus is an amazing int damage dealer. He serves as the captain. He's got a range of 3. He leads infantry, but here's what you need to know. He's good because he's got an engage skill. It's very meta in Season 1, because you're going to find a lot of armies that control you before you even do what you're setting out to do. And engage abilities happen before the rest of the fight unfolds. So engage abilities are incredibly powerful because you can work around the sort of Season 1 meta of disrupting your ability to do stuff. He's also great because he's an int captain and damage dealer with a massive range, which is 3 is behind my head here, but his skill, his engage skill that he comes with, has a range of 5, which is massive. So he is a great fit with a survival type army. This is an army inclination in the game. It's basically the countering system. That army inclination of survival focuses on healing and buffing. And his role in this composition will be as the damage dealer because his main skill has a really long range. It hits multiple enemies. And he's got a really high int score, which you can see over here. He's going to go in the captain slot, as I mentioned earlier. Best skills that you could use with him would include Brains and Brawn, Total Conquest, and Insightful Prediction. In addition, if you're looking for other heroes to pair with him, and a lot of this list, it's all going to work really well together, you'd be looking to Sun Tzu, Cleopatra, or Mark Antony as very, very strong choices. There are, of course, others. But let's go to number 4 on my list. And spoiler alert, I did just mention this hero. It's going to be Mark Antony. So we're going to scroll on down. There he is. So Mark Antony is a Vanguard hero. You're going to put him in the front. He's going to soak up damage. He's got a range of 3. Infantry is the unit type he'll be leading. And he has a strong hero because he can take damage on behalf of your allies. So this is a passive from his main skill. I can show it to you over here. And during the first 3 turns, he has a 50% chance to take the damage dealt on behalf of one of his allies. So this is exactly what you want your Vanguard damage-soaking hero to be doing. He is going to protect the rest of the lineup and soak a lot of damage. Now, we could read this skill in full. Reduce own passive damage taken by a percentage affected by defense. And after taking damage, reduce this skill's damage taken reduction effect. So it's going to get weaker and weaker as you take more and more damage. But for every 3 instances of damage taken, deal attack damage affected by defense 1 time to a random enemy within a range of 3. Now, here's the part I was telling you about, though. During the first 3 turns, when an ally takes skill damage, excluding continuous damage, 50% chance to take the damage on behalf of the ally. GG, man. Very, very cool Vanguard skill and unit that is going to be incredibly strong in the following conditions. His best skills that you'll want to use with him would include Desperate Counter, Counter Offensive, and City Garrison in Season 2, Chilling Armor, back to Season 1 options here again. Your pairing examples would include commanders or heroes like Pericles, Caesar, Cleopatra, Sun Tzu, and Lepidus. We're on a roll here, using heroes that I mention are all going to pair well together. The next hero we're going to show you here, number 3, hero to work on, in my opinion, Cleopatra. Cleopatra. All right. She is also infantry. You'll notice a trend. I might over-index a lot on infantry here, so it's a personal flaw of mine. Has been for a long time. Anyways, buffing type hero, and she is unique because of her very, very strong main skill. It can reduce male enemy hero damage and increase their engage damage taken. Many armies are focused on engage damage, and it's very difficult to encounter. So remember, engage damage, which I will cover in a separate video, all the different types of damage and the way that status effects and combat effects work in this game. But engage damage happens initially at the engage or start of the fight, before you start getting into all the turns of the fight. And so this is very, very powerful because, again, it circumvents what I think is the meta in this first season of the game, which is disruptive effects. So during the first 3 turns, you reduce all male enemy heroes' engage damage dealt, very powerful, and increase their engage damage taken. And from turn 5 onwards, when all ally heroes take damage, there's a 40% chance to deal int damage affected by int 1 time to a random enemy hero within a range of 4. And this can trigger twice per turn. Very powerful to put her either in the vanguard or the center spot in your lineup. Her best skills are going to be Fabius Tactics. That's, I think, the best in slot choice here. You've got King's Ascension. You've got Deterrent Defense. And you've got From the Front Line. A few pairing examples that you could put with Cleopatra would be Pericles, Sun Tzu, Mark Antony, and Lepidus, who we've already talked about as being very powerful. And Sun Tzu plus Cleo is an extremely nasty survival duo. I would know because Sun Tzu was one of my primary focuses, I think it's fair to say, in this first season, all right? Which brings us to Sun Tzu. And rather than show this to you from the screen where you can recruit, I just want to demonstrate to you money where my mouth is. Here's my Sun Tzu, all right? And I'll show you the skills that I've got on mine in my lineup. In fact, I suppose I could have showed you Cleo from my lineup. Not all the heroes, unfortunately. I don't have all the heroes that I'm recommending here. My Cleopatra, I've got King's Ascension, and I've also got Preemptive Strike. All right? So, again, money where my mouth is on, like, things that I think work incredibly well. I suppose Preemptive Strike was not on my list, but you can do better than what I'm doing. Anyways, do what I say, not what I do. But what I'm actually doing, Sun Tzu. Man, I'm a little unhinged today. Here we go. Sun Tzu. He is a healing and buffing type. Range 4. Infantry, yet again. I told you I over-indexed on infantry. I'm an infantry lover. But Sun Tzu is really strong because he does big damage, he does big healing, and he reduces the damage that your allies take. Okay? And he does that with an engage skill, which means there's less opportunity for your enemy to disrupt it. We can pull up his engage skill here and talk about it. When all allies deal damage a total of 5 times, one random ally hero deals either attack damage or int damage to one random enemy 1 time, based on which stat is higher. When all allies take damage a total of 5 times, he restores troops to the ally hero with the most wounded troops and reduces their next combat damage taken. Okay. Now you get him in the middle, Sun Tzu, of season 1 with an event unlock, which was amazing. So we basically had the event, got the unlock, doubled down on Sun Tzu. Plus, come on. Do you see this art? Like, come on. Like, bro, come on. All right. So his role will either be as an int damage captain or a center int support hero in your lineup. His best skills are deterrent defense, from the front line, brain and brawn, or total conquest. What I'm using includes brain and brawn, and then also total conquest. Actually, my money where my mouth is. Chi. I'm not a hypocrite. All right, then. Your best pairs include Lepidus, Pericles, Cleopatra, and Mark Antony, which brings us to the number 1 hero, in my opinion, in season 1. Okay? And you got to keep in mind that a part of my recommendations here are to give you a versatile army, to give you an army that's capable of taking lots of tiles. But the number one hero, I actually don't think I have him unlocked even, which is a bit of a bummer. So I'll go to show this to you over here in the recruit screen. The number one hero is going to be Pericles. All right. So let's pull him up front and center for the class. Here he is, Pericles. Why? Finally, a cavalry hero, for those of you that like cavalry. He's an attack type hero, range of 3. And Pericles is a damage dealer that can heal, which is pretty nice, as well as ramp off his allies, and he can do multiple sources of damage. So the more times your allies do damage, the more damage and healing Pericles will do. Sounds a little bit like Sun Tzu, but let's read the skill here. So when all allies deal damage to enemies, a total of 5 times, they deal attack damage to 2 random enemy heroes 1 time and cause them to revolt for 2 turns. Revolt. When affected enemies take damage, the attack recovers troops. Pretty cool effect. It's a debuff. Dealing attack damage to targets with statuses recovers your own troops. So he is powerful for a number of reasons, but he's going to deal damage fast and consistently because this is an engage skill. So it's right off rip. And because it's an engage skill, the skill is pretty much immune to all control effects except for disorient and exhaust. All right. He also, I believe, has a high agility score. This means he's going to be one of the very first to act in combat, even with your engage skill. All right. And his best skills are going to be, although I don't have him, so I can't show you what I got here, Meteor Shower, Unexpected Counter in Season 2, Arrow Storm back to Season 1 options here, Unbeatable Warrior, and Ever Victorious. He goes in the captain slot. Captain, oh captain. His best pairs are going to be Caesar, Cleo, Sun Tzu, Mark Antony, just to name a few. All right, so all 5 of these heroes that I've shared with you today are meant to be a part of an engaged survival team. And because there are so many debuffs in this game, and so many heroes doing control effects, this basically lets you sidestep how most enemies are going to operate in PvP, which is very powerful. If you were a bigger spender and you had QSH, as an example, you would go the route of engage debuffing heroes for the Kin Emperor bond, right? But these heroes that we've recommended counter that, all right, and are far easier to recruit, which is a part of the strategy. Survival armies are also really great for pushing tiles earlier and faster, and in turn, pushing your production faster. So with that said, I'm sure everybody's got their own preferences for Season 1, so you sound off in the comments. Let me know, what do you think are your top 5 outside of the, peerless type heroes that are incredibly powerful? All right, and if you enjoyed this vid, throw a like on here, subscribe. Big thank you again to the makers of Civilization Eras and Allies for sponsoring this vid. I've got a ton more on the way, and once I have my combat guide live, I'll have a card in the end screen that'll link you directly to the combat guide, where you're like, wait, what's an inclination? Wait, hold on, what is engage damage versus what are the types of damage? Don't worry, I got you. Cards in the end screen as soon as those videos are live on the channel, and those videos are coming.